Today on the 1012 podcast, the Big 12 preseason team is out. We discuss it and what it could mean for the season, plus expectations for the 4 new Big 12 programs. Welcome all y'all. And Kyle Umlang joins the show for our favorite offseason episode, the Big 12 Dream Road Trip. Welcome to the 1012, the podcast that covers all 14 teams in the Big 12. Man, that's fun to say. We are the flagship show of the 1012 network. Find every podcast, every show in the network at 1012network.com, TEN, the number 12, the word network. I am your host, Phillip Slavin. Thank you for joining us this week, the first official podcast episode of the 14-team Big 12 Conference. We've been waiting for this day to come. It is here. I am thrilled. I am excited. It feels good. 2 years of waiting, 2 years of anticipating. I know I'm excited. I know UCF, Cincinnati, Houston, and BYU are excited. So are their fans. The amount of content and craziness and parties late into the night that those 4 fan bases, those universities were putting on last week on Saturday. I mean, look, it was as if it wasn't already a holiday weekend and a big deal to have that coinciding with it. I think there were a lot of fireworks set off this weekend. A lot of drinks consumed, a lot of official school beers, a lot of Cougar Tails were consumed. Just a really, really great time for everyone involved. If you haven't yet, we had a fantastic intro for the 4 new schools on. The episode is available in podcast form. It's also available on our YouTube channel. If you don't know that we have YouTube, you can find exclusive interviews posted there with some fantastic guests. Link is in the bio. It's real simple. Go to youtube.com, look for 1012 podcast. Be sure to subscribe, watch the videos, like them. We will have an exclusive YouTube-only interview this week. So if you're big on the transfer portal, that's something you like to keep track of, go check it out. Big 12 Media Days is next week, next Wednesday and Thursday. We will not be there this year. I wanted to try and make it happen. It's not going to work out, unfortunately. Very disappointed to not be there, but we will not. But we'll have something next week. Maybe, I don't know. We might have an episode. We might just let Big 12 Media Days breathe. I know that our Houston podcast, Scott and Holman, will be there. So make sure that you are paying attention to that podcast, that show, following them on the Twitter. The threads, we're on Threads, 1012 Podcast, 1012 Network is on Threads. If you are one of the people who is at a Thread account, make sure you're following us there, as well as Twitter at 1012 Network. That's a lot. That's a lot. We've got a fantastic episode today, one of my favorite summer episodes, Big 12 Dream Road Trip. First-time guest, long-time desire to have Kyle Umlang on the podcast. We're going to come to that in just a minute. We got a few things to get to. Those 4 new schools that have joined the Big 12, they are very, very excited. But that excitement is going to build and die down in 2 different ways. Build as the anticipation of this first season gets here, about their excitement to play in the Big 12 Conference, flex those muscles, and die down from the just like, yay, we're here. Okay, no, now we want to do something. Now we want to do something now that we are here. Soccer and football, first opportunity to do so. I think BYU soccer could really throw a wrench in the usual Big 12 standings. We'll talk about that as we get closer to the season. But as for football, what should the 4 incoming schools expect? It's going to be a big topic of conversation. And I think most of the fan bases have realistic expectations for year 1. We've seen realignment of this level occur in the past. Obviously, TCU and West Virginia joined the Big 12. You saw Utah join the Pac-12. The ACC gobbled up some other Big East schools like Louisville. You saw ACC schools shift to the Big 10. We've seen conference realignment constantly. The last big wave, of course, as we mentioned, TCU and West Virginia to the Big 12, joined for the 2012 season. Utah joining Pac-12. Colorado shifting over there. So when it comes to G5 to P5, you have to have some realistic expectations. And I think most of the fan bases do. But I'm curious if they have realistic enough expectations. The Big 12 preseason poll came out on Wednesday. We'll talk about that here in a second. If you look at it, UCF Houston, no preseason players. No one on the team, no one on the preseason media team from Houston or UCF. One player from BYU, an offensive lineman whose name I have got to familiarize myself with because I'm going to get it wrong. Kingsley. Just help me out, folks. Suamatea. If that's wrong, hit me up at the DMs on social. Correct me. I will find the pronouncer. I promise I will. 2 from Cincinnati. Defensive lineman Dante Corleone, who's got a sandwich deal through NIL, and it's fantastic. And punter Mason Fletcher. That's it. From the 4 incoming schools, those are the only players on the preseason team. Houston fans upset. UCF fans upset. I will admit I had a Houston UCF player. No, I had a Houston player on our poll. I don't think I ended up with a UCF player. I'll have that out in the next week or so. We'll post ours. But it makes a lot of sense. Like it just kind of does. And I'm sorry. I know that's not insulting or you're just not getting enough due. Look at the last time we saw G5 to P5 like this. 2012, TCU, coming off an 11-2 season in 2011, been rolling in the Mountain West, killing it nationally. 2012, 7-6, 4-5 in Big 12 play, 2-4 to finish the season. So start 5-2, finish 2-4. West Virginia, 2011, 10-3, destroyed Clemson in the bowl game, come to the Big 12, ready to go, 7-6, 4-5 in conference play, finish 2-4. Tough seasons in year one that ended poorly. Then came 2013. TCU 4-8, 2-7 in conference play with a 1-5 finish. West Virginia, same thing, 4-8, 2-7 in conference play, 1-5 finish. It takes time to acclimate to playing a higher level of competition. And you can say, well, the Big 12 is not that much better than ACC. You, Cincinnati, Houston, BYU, and UCF fans, you can say that all you want. But that's not true. That may be what some people in the media want to make you think because of recruiting rankings or this or that. It's just not the reality. It is a more difficult conference. It's going to take a minute. Now, what's interesting to me, though, in the Big 12, and why I'm having a problem just taking this data and straight applying it to everybody joining the Big 12 is this. How many times have we said this on this show? How many times do I say this on social media? There has never been a year like what we're about to see in the Big 12 this season. Never. 4 schools coming in, not 1, not 2, 4 schools incoming, 2 schools in their last season, old rivalries being renewed, going from a round-robin schedule to unbalanced schedules. This is very, very unusual. So you take that by itself. Is historical data helpful? Now let's throw in this. I think it's the bigger thing. Is the last time we had a major shift like this, that 2012, 2013, 2011 time period, there was no transfer portal. There was no immediate eligibility. There was no NIL. Those have so drastically changed the college football, the college athletics landscape that roster construction, roster building is not done the same way at all as it was back then. Oh, here's the last little nugget. Those teams back then had a year's heads up. So they maybe got like one recruiting class that you were selling on coming to the Big 12. And that's one that you were already building relationships and recruiting. The 4 incoming have had 2 years to prepare. They have 2 years worth of freshmen. They're going to be like, we're Big 12 players now. They have had more time to prepare. They have had more time to prepare their rosters. And they're able to more immediately benefit their rosters joining the Big 12 because of the portal and NIL. All this is to say this. I have no idea how historical data will help us prepare for this season. I do think it means one thing. The back half of your season is always important. It's never been more important for the 4 schools incoming than it will be this year to decide whether their season is going to be a success or failure. Because the reason those teams have had so much trouble is because they don't have the depth of talent. Their starters, I think UCF's starting roster is going to be on par with most of the teams in the Big 12. Same thing with Houston and BYU and Cincinnati. They're going to have plenty of players that would play on teams in the Big 12 that are starting. It's that depth. It's that second string. It's that third string. It's what happens when you start getting injuries. What happens when you have to play a Power 5 team 10 times instead of 1 or 2. The back half of the season is going to really be where it determines your year. And if you're a Big 12 team playing one of the newcomers, you hope you got them in the back half of the season because that should be an advantage to you. Going to be very interesting to see, very interesting to track this year. I've been big on you kind of have to throw out some of the historical data because I'm just not sure how useful it is in this current day and age of college athletics. As we mentioned, the preseason team is out. Very interesting notes. First off, Texas had 5 players on the team. That is the most of everybody. Kansas State, Kansas, and TCU each had 4, though I will note Kansas State running back Treshaun Ward was named Newcomer of the Year. He is a transfer from Florida State. He was not one of the running backs named to the preseason team. Those honors fell to Richard Reese of Baylor and Devin Neal of Kansas. So you could say Kansas State had 5 players. That's a tie. We've had ties in the past. We'll get to that in a second. I do think that's very interesting. It's also very interesting that your Offensive Player of the Year in Jalen Daniels was not a unanimous first-team selection. Typically, whoever your Offensive Player of the Year is going to be a unanimous first-team selection. It's not this year in Jalen Daniels. I know we did not pick Jalen Daniels for our first-team quarterback in the 1012 podcast media ballot submission. I'm just going to put that out there. There's another quarterback that we picked. We will go over ours. You know what? We're going to do it next week. Let's just do it next week. Let's just plan for next week. That's the goal. We need to put ours out. We'll talk about it next week. We'll say that for next week. So what does, Jalen Daniels, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year award going to Jalen Ford of Texas, linebacker there. And Newcomer of the Year, as I mentioned, Treshaun Ward, running back at Kansas State, coming from Florida State. So congrats to Texas on 5. What does that mean for the year? Does that mean anything? Historically speaking, the team who has had the most players in the preseason poll is the team that has won the Big 12 more often than not. Now, it's hard when Oklahoma was typically that team and they were always preseason number 1 and then they always won the Big 12. That was the case in 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017. 2021, they had the most. They had 9 players. I went back to 2017. I didn't go back further than that. 9 is by far the most a team since 2017 has had on the preseason team. That being that 2021 Oklahoma team, they went 10-2 but missed the Big 12 championship game altogether. Baylor and Oklahoma State were there. Kansas State last year had the most players, 6. They won the Big 12. There is another exception here. In 2020 and 2017, Texas tied Oklahoma for the most players on the preseason team. Texas in 2020 had 5, along with Oklahoma. Texas went 7-3. In 2017, Oklahoma and Texas both had 5. Texas went 7-6. Texas this year with 5. Kansas State with 4. Not going to count Treshaun Ward because he's not on the poll, on the media team. Will be interesting to see if the history of having the most players on the preseason team holds history like we've seen a lot, or if the Texas getting the most players leads to a 7-win season is the thing that holds water. You know what else holds water really well? Home field apparel shirts. The most comfortable vintage college sports apparel you will find anywhere. They've got every Big 12 school. All 14 teams in the conference are available at Home Field. Multiple schools have gotten refreshes so far this summer. Oklahoma and Texas have. TCU has. Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Cincinnati, West Virginia. They have been incredible. I cannot wait for these to keep coming out. I need the UCF. We need some more Citronut gear at Home Field. I need a little bit more. little bit louder now. Home Field Apparel. Don't forget to use that promo code NETWORK12, NETWORK12 for 15% off your first purchase. You're going to want to be decked out. You're going to want to be decked out for this season, and you cannot look and feel better while cheering on your team than when you are wearing Home Field Apparel. So go to homefieldapparel.com, promo code NETWORK12, 15% off your first order. Don't forget to follow them on Twitter, the good brand. Give them a follow on Threads. They're on there. We're on there. All right, one of my favorite episodes of the off season coming up. Don't forget, we'll have an exclusive interview on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. Go subscribe, like the video, leave a comment, please. Oh, please. We're trying to grow that. Ten12network.com. Every show in the network, go check them out. Go listen to an episode. It's a great opportunity to familiarize yourself, especially if you're a fan of one of the new schools, and a great opportunity to familiarize yourself with the other 8 schools, or if you're also the other 10, or if you're one of the 10 current Big 12 schools, old Big 12 schools, OG Big 12 schools. Want to familiarize yourself with the 4 incoming. We got a podcast for Baylor. We've got a podcast for BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF, so go check them all out. Kyle Umlang, Big 12 Dream Road Trip. Let's get to it.
I'm Sam, and I co-host the Scott and Holm podcast, the known universe's first Houston Cougar sports podcast. Every week, even during the offseason, my co-host Dustin and I come on and talk everything current as it relates to the Cougs, and every so often, we'll bring on UH luminaries like Carl Lewis, Kellen Sampson, and a number of other fantastic Cougar voices. And as proud members of the 1012 network, we also find the time to talk about our future conference and future opponents in the Big 12 as well. If all of that sounds even a little bit interesting to you, we would love it if you subscribe to the Scott and Holm podcast on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere else you put podcasts in your ears. That's podcast spelled P-A-W-D, cast, because the two of us hosting the show are nothing if not big dorks. So thank you, and go Cougs.
The best season of Big 12 football, possibly of all time, will be underway this fall. As we've continued to hammer this point, folks, that there has never been a season like what we're about to see, and frankly, there never will be. With the relationships that have already been established from long ago, you've got 2 teams that are ready to get out the door, 8 teams that are ready to see them leave, 4 teams that want their shot at the heavyweights. I mean, this is just going to be incredible. And so, of course, we do this every year. We do our Big 12 Dream Road Trip. And I'm so excited for this year because it's not like, oh, we're just looking for cool matchups, or we're just looking for those games we love. No. There are final shots, only shots, unique shots at matchups that we are going to get to talk about, and I am thrilled. And I went looking for what I felt would be a perfect guest for this particular episode. I thought, I want to get someone who has experience in the Big 12, maybe before a player. And then I thought, no. I want someone who's got wit. I want someone who is a fan of a team that is leaving. And so you probably know him as Aggie Fact Thursday, if I remember that correctly. He is Kyle Umlang, joining us today here on the 1012 podcast. Well, Kyle, welcome, sir.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm very excited to do this road trip with you.
I have to ask, because I haven't had an OU or Texas fan or person on much recently. And so, like, this idea in my head has been like, look, I get Texas and OU fans are thrilled and ready to go. Y'all are like 1 foot out the door, and one is just like a couple toes still left in the Big 12 house. But y'all are ready to go to the SEC, which is completely understandable. I get all that. Just like I think the Big 12 teams that remain are kind of ready to just, like, we're all excited for this season because it's thrilling, but also ready for some normalcy, because it's been just a nonsense upheaval for 2 years, and I think it's been weird. But I am curious for those maybe who, and there's always going to be fans who are like, nah, screw the Big 12, we don't care, bye. But like, for those true OU Texas fans that have been in this conference for so long, who do actually like have built relationships with other fan bases and have friends that are fans of the remaining 8, like, at what point do you think it will hit OU and Texas fans alike? We are going to kind of miss some of this.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of like senioritis. You're all pumped to go to college. Like, high school is you're just walking by your last year, and then like it finally gets there, and you're just like, I don't know, kind of nervous, and you kind of miss what you know in high school. So I would put, not like downgrading the Big 12 as high school and SEC as college, but it's that kind of feeling like we've been ramped up for, like you said, 2 years on this, and it's finally getting closer. And yes, it is exciting to move on and stuff, but also, yeah, I have made so many friends on Twitter from like everywhere, Tech, Kansas State, not really Kansas. I don't think Kansas has Twitter people. But Bay, like I love being on everyone's like podcast and interacting with everyone throughout the season. So yes, I will miss interacting with a lot of those fan bases. And there's history, 20 something years in the Big 12. Yes, change is good and necessary, but it also pulls at your heartstrings just a tiny bit. So hopefully the Big 12 just sucks really bad after we leave, and it'll be fine for us. I do not want to be sitting on the couch watching my team in the Alamo Bowl and then like the playoff having like 2 Big 12 teams in it or something. Then I would, I'd be like, why did we leave? So.
I mean, you're leaving an easier path for a more difficult one. I mean, that's that's going to be the argument.
I think it'll be an easier path, especially with the 12-team playoff coming out. I mean, even as it stands with 4 teams, obviously the committee loves SEC teams.
Okay.
12, you gotta be perfect basically all the way down to the end to have a shot. In SEC, you can 2-loss your way in maybe. SEC is I hate the unnecessary bias that they get in that type of stuff. So I'll be glad that we finally are getting it. Hopefully.
I'm so intrigued with what like the OU and Texas fans walk into the SEC and looking around and be like, what the is these people? What's wrong with these people? What did we just? It's like getting married to a woman that you're very excited about, and then you meet like the full family for the first time. And you're like, what the hell did I just
crazy
get
Aunt Kathy?
into?
Like, what's wrong with her?
Like creepy uncles. You got wild demon cousin children. Yeah. You got just the full gamut, and you're like, man, I thought our family was weird, but this is another level. It's gonna be very interesting. I cannot wait. All right, so let's get this started. We've got
your intro into this though I thought was just chef's kiss. This is going to be an awesome season for everyone involved. I'm very, very pumped to be a part of this craziness.
If there's one message I can been hammering since like January when we had Ryan Nani on, it's there's never been a season like this ever in any conference at all. There will never be another one like it. We all just need to buckle up and enjoy the hell out of what is just going to. And this is just football. We're not talking about basketball, and baseball, and so like all the other sports going on.
I'm just so excited for everything. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be great. All right, so let's start. Let's get underway with week 1. The rules of this are simple. You may not go to a stadium more than twice. You may go to a Thursday or Friday and a Saturday game as long as you can realistically drive from location A to location B in time. As this is a dream road trip, not a dream hop on a quick flight over there trip. Right. I did not put you have to see every team once. I did try to make sure that I saw every team once this season just to try and keep some balance, but you're not required to. So let's get underway with week 1, first week of the season. Not week 0, because Big 12 doesn't play on week 0, because we're not weird Big 10 teams who need to match up bottom dwellers on a Saturday for attention. Right. As my guest, Kyle, where are you going to first in week 1 of the season?
It was between Colorado and TCU and West Virginia and Penn State, but I settled on Penn State and West Virginia just because I think that'll be a great matchup. I don't know what Colorado is going to be this year. They're either going to be cool to watch or teetering on 0-12. I don't know what's going to happen yet with them, so I probably won't miss that much if I skip that one. So I'm doing West Virginia at Penn State week 1.
All right. I'm kicking things off with a doubleheader in week 1. I want to get going. The very first Big 12 game of the season, because it kicks off an hour earlier than the Kansas game does, is UCF at Kent State. I'm going to go to that Thursday night game. It's the first Big 12 game of the season. It's an opportunity to go to the bounce house. It's probably not going to be a very exciting game, but I'm just so ready for this season that I want to digest as much of it as I possibly humanly can. I've never been to the bounce house in Orlando. I cannot wait to go for the first time. Probably not for real this year, but it's on my bucket list. I think it's be great, which then means that I have plenty of time on Saturday to go somewhere else. Now, typically, I like road games in the non-con because I can go to all the Big 12 stadiums once it's time for the season to start. And only 2 Big 12 teams start their season on the road. One of them is the game you mentioned, West Virginia at Penn State. The other one is Texas Tech at Wyoming. Now, normally, I want to go on the road, and so I'm torn between West Virginia, probably getting slapped around at Penn State. Like, I'm a little bit afraid. You talked about Colorado and how good they are. There's also a little bit like, how good is West Virginia going to be against a Penn State team that everyone's super hyped on? Or going to a Big 12 stadium to see TCU, coming off a national championship berth, face Deion Sanders. I'm picking Fort Worth and TCU versus Colorado. A preview of a probably in the future Big 12 matchup. I am very excited to see what TCU looks like rebounding after last year. And look, it's not that I'm like buying the hype, but I at least want to see what all the hype is about with Colorado. And so an opportunity to see it in person, even though week 1 is not going to be the West week.
Just don't know.
So, like, I'm not sure either West Virginia, Penn State, or TCU, Colorado will be a good football game. But I want to see what the hype's about in person for myself. So I will head to Fort Worth for TCU and Colorado. All right. So with that in mind, week 2. We got a lot of good options in week 2. A lot of good options. So I'm curious, what are you picking here?
But I really want to see Oregon play Tech. I think it'll be a good matchup. The last time I've seen Oregon really play was the Alamo Bowl against Texas, and that was horrible. So I would like for them to get beat. I think Tech is going to be decent this year. I think they have a good shot at home beating Oregon, so I would like to see that one.
This is a really good week. It's the best non-conference week that seems to be pretty standard. I do think Texas Tech hosting Oregon, that's a huge game, and the Texas Tech hype train is that is a runaway train already. I'll be interested to see how that goes. We got UCF at Boise State. We got Oklahoma State at Arizona State, a potential future Big 12. We got a lot of Big 12, Pac-12 for some reason. We've got Iowa State hosting Iowa. As always, the El Clasico, always a fun time. Baylor hosting Utah. Cincinnati at Pitt. I think Kansas hosting Illinois is interesting. Those are all great. You obviously are going to have plenty of opportunities to see Texas and Alabama face off here in the very, very near future. But this is the last year for Texas and Oklahoma in the Big 12. So it's the last time to see Texas face off in a game like this as a Big 12 team. And because I like to go to road games for non-conference, this just feels like the right one to go to. It's Texas at Bama. It's a huge game. I think that this game is almost more interesting this year because of how close it was last year in Austin. Obviously, this game's in Tuscaloosa. It's not going to be the same thing. It's not going to be the same game, and it might not be close. But with all the hype for Texas this year, they're going to be the Big 12 media days, preseason number 1. Like, I want to go to this game. I want to see, because I want to see early on, is Texas for real? Is the expectation that have been put on them this year for real? This game, it's a great weekend. I think this is actually one of those weekends where I would want to stay at home and have as many TVs on as possible just to watch as much football as I can, because there's going to be a ton of good stuff. But I can't skip Texas at Alabama. It's just too good of an opportunity.
Yes, I that was my second pick, but I think it'll be a blowout this season. I think the Sark train gets moving early in the season, takes advantage of them, and just really just puts up some numbers. I'm very excited for this game. I do not think it'll be close. That is my gut. My gut tells me I've already drank the Kool-Aid this year. This is going to be a defining game where we jump like 10 ranks. It'll be awesome.
That's big. It'll be very interesting. I'm very interested. It's going to be such a good game. Okay. Week 3, a sneaky good slate. Not awesome, not nearly as good as week 2, but a sneaky good slate with some very interesting games. So Kyle, where are you headed for week 3?
It's between BYU and Arkansas or Kansas State, Missouri. I think it'd be awesome to see Kansas State and Missouri just because they used to be in the Big 12 together, and I just don't like Missouri that much. Kansas State's all right. But then BYU and Arkansas, I think that'll be a very good game. So I'm going to go, I think the most I'm excited for is BYU, Arkansas. That's the one.
All right. Well, we'll get seats together because I'm going to be joining you. Look, I agreed. Kansas State and Missouri, I think should be fun. I'm Remember, I mean, last year was pretty much a Kansas State blowout. You've got, what was it? Let's see, BYU and Arkansas we're going to. You've got West Virginia Pitt, the backyard brawl, round 2. This one at West Virginia I think will be pretty good. That was an incredible game. And the first Big 12 game of the season, TCU traveling to Houston this week as well, I think is a good game. But I agree, BYU at Arkansas, I don't know what to expect from either team.
Right.
This is Arkansas's last home game until October 21st. They have 4 straight games away from Fayetteville. Road game, neutral site game against A&M, then 2 road games. October 21st is the next time they will have a home game. So I feel like the Razorback crowd might be big. They've got to replace both the coordinators. I think this is going to be a fun game.
Yeah.
I mean, I already live in Arkansas, so it's not like it's that far a trip for me. I may see if I can do this game for real. So I'm with you. BYU at Arkansas. That is the week 3 pick. All right. Week 4, sir. Where are you headed?
I got OU at Cincinnati. I think that's going to be a great game. That's one that I might even try to go to. I'm close. I think it'll be great. I think Cincinnati is gonna at least give Oklahoma a run for their money. I think it'll be a close game. So I would love to be there and see that upset because obviously I think the media will think OU will roll on this one, but I think Cincy has them this year.
All right, so we'll just road trip again for week 2 because I'm going to the same place. I think there's a lot of good, interesting ones. Texas at Baylor. We're getting into Big 12 play, so you're going to see some potentially last time 2 teams will meet for a very long time, not ever. You get some BYU Kansas for the first time, UCF Kansas State for the first time, Texas Tech at West Virginia, an interesting one. But yeah, look, Oklahoma going to Cincinnati. I don't care what Cincinnati's record is through the non-conference. They are going to be so hyped for their first conference game, and it's Oklahoma at their stadium. I think the vibe there is going to be absolutely incredible. That might be the biggest Cincinnati crowd. Because when they played Notre Dame, they played them on the road. This might be one of the biggest Cincinnati crowd of all time. I think it's going to be great. It's going to be the first real test for Oklahoma, too, because they're non-conference, because that Georgia game got canceled because of Oklahoma joining the SEC. Their non-con is nothing. It's SMU, Tulsa, and somebody else. This is Oklahoma's first test. Cincinnati with a whole new coaching staff. Not sure what to expect here. I'm with you. I think this is the most interesting game of this week.
Yep.
Week 5. Where are you headed?
BYU Cincinnati. I think that'll be a good one. I don't know what to expect from either team. I think hopefully Cincinnati will be rolling off a great victory against Oklahoma. I think it'll be a very, very, very good game. It's at BYU, right? Yeah.
It's a Friday night game, 9:15 guys time kickoff.
BYU they always are bragging about those awesome mountain views from the stadium, so I think it'd be good to see that.
I'll get there. That game is Friday. There's just no way to get from BYU in a night game and then make it to another game on Saturday. So I'm going to stick with Saturday. And look, here at the 1012 podcast, we love intra-conference transfers a lot. I think they're incredible. They create incredible drama. It's especially fun in basketball because it's just 5-on-5 and you could get home and away. And there are a lot of interesting intra-conference transfers this season. You got John Paul Richardson leaving OSU for TCU, Trace Ford transferring OSU to Oklahoma, Dominic Richardson transferring from OSU to Baylor, Caleb Etienne transferring from OSU to BYU. I just keep making this joke because there's more than that. But look, when you have a quarterback who's going to have to face his former team, how can you miss that?
Yeah,
I can't. And so Houston, with Donovan Smith, who is likely to be their starter, going on the road to Lubbock to face Texas Tech this week, I have to be there. And I'm a Donovan Smith stan, and I hate that his time in Lubbock ended. I'm so excited to see what the Donovan Smith era is like in Houston for the Cougars. This is also one of those games where I'm like, this is going to be TCU Baylor feels like the bigger rivalry than TCU Texas Tech or Baylor Texas Tech. Texas Tech Houston feels like this is going to be the other Texas rivalry.
Yeah, the other Texas rivalry. Yeah, I gotcha.
I mean, there's so many cross relationships of coaches kind of going back and forth in this program. I think this is going to be a great start of a new Big 12 rivalry. You got the Donovan Smith situation. This is the game. This is the one I got to go to
You
this week.
bring up really great points. I might have to change my answer.
Oh,
You're right. The tortillas will be a flying. That it's going to be insane. The Tech crowd gets nasty, especially when it's home field, especially when it's at home, especially when it's like some story about a player that used to play there, or coach that used to be there. It's they get very personal, and it's awesome. So yeah, I agree. That would be a great one to get to.
For any fans of any of the incoming schools who are not aware, just as a heads up, just a warning, do not eat the tortillas, okay? If there's a tortillas flying in the stadium, when they start going, do not eat them, because you have to ask yourself, how did they get these into the stadium? That's all you need to ask. You do not need to, do not do it. Do not do it. All right, week 6. I thought this one might be tricky. Texas Tech, Baylor, Kansas State at Oklahoma State on a Friday night. Could be interesting. Kyle, I think we're going to be at the same game again.
I picked OU Texas just because that game is just always fun, no matter what we're ranked, no matter what projections are that year. It's always it's my favorite game of the year to go to. So I'm choosing OU Texas.
I'll be there with you. It's the last time Red River will be a Big 12 game. So I feel the need to go and attend this one before it's an SEC game. And then you're just kind of like it's still going to be a great game as an SEC game, but now you're just kind of like an uninvested observer, as opposed to like the outcome of this game could impact the Big 12 championship, right? And it might be a preview of the Big 12 championship game if you want to believe some projections and things that we were seeing earlier in the early off season. So I'm with you. Yeah, I don't know. OU schedule is the Big 12. I don't know what they were thinking. I'm with you. I'm in Red River. We're both going to be headed to Dallas for the last Red River Big 12 game, which is going to be, I think that's one of the things I will miss the most, is that game is such a big deal. And it's such a neat thing that one of the biggest rivalries and one of the biggest rivalry games, one of the most unique football games, up there with the cocktail party, because it's this neutral site during a freaking Texas State Fair, and the food and the drink and this it's just such a cool college football thing. And for that to no longer be part of the Big 12 really sucks. Like, however you feel about Oklahoma or Texas, like just that event, which is so unique, being part of this conference was such a cool thing, and to lose it sucks. I don't know a better word for it.
For sure.
All right. Oh, no more sad. Let's talk happy. Week 7. Week 7 of the schedule. What you got?
I really like. I've already been to BYU, but I really like BYU TCU. And I was trying to think. Yeah, the West Virginia Houston game is on Thursday, so I could definitely make both games. Definitely.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'll probably do those two.
All right. Well, I also am headed to West Virginia at TCU because, again, it is a Thursday game, and there's no reason not to double dip.
Right.
Plus, no, it's West Virginia Houston. Sorry. West Virginia Houston. Because, also, folks, it's the Dana Holgorsen Bowl. It will be the first time Dana Holgorsen has faced off against West Virginia since he left the Mountaineers for the Cougars. How can I not go to that game? Like, I don't feel like the West Virginia fans and Houston fans have made this into like every argument for like, this could be a rivalry is like, yeah, he'll just leave one day, so it doesn't really matter. And I'm like, West Virginia fans are like, there's this collection of West Virginia fans who are adamant that, no, we don't have a rivalry and we don't want, it's almost like we don't want one. It's like, but you keep complaining that you're not feeling connected, but then it's like, we try and you're like, no. I'm like, all right, cool. I hope, beyond hope, that Dana says something just stupid before this game.
Not all nice up the week, stir it all up the week before.
Just to really, and I need to find that clip that's like, well, you can't recruit in West Virginia. But even now, West Virginia fans are down so bad, they're like, yeah, he was right. It's like, all right, enough with this Eeyore crap. Like, you got an opportunity on Thursday. Okay, so then on Saturday, you were talking about BYU at TCU. Man, how do we keep doing this? Because, again, we have a Mountain West rivalry renewed in BYU at TCU that when both of these teams were in the Mountain West was a heated rivalry. It was two fan bases that did not like each other. They were very, very competitive. Not holy war level, not revivalry level of like Gary Patterson and he who shall not be named. But this was two fan bases and two teams that were adamantly enemies. to get a rivalry renewed and an opportunity to see that again, I think it's gonna be incredible. So, man, we're gonna have many weekends, I guess, where we're gonna be hanging out. Well, you sit on one side, I'll sit on the other side. Because at this point in the season, we're tired of each other a little bit.
Right.
Too much time together.
No.
But I'm with you. I West Virginia at Houston because that's the game that should be a rivalry, and BYU at TCU because it used to be and we probably will be again.
Definitely, for sure.
All right, so that leads us to week 8. We have 12 of the 14 teams in action. Let's see if we're in the same spot again. Kyle, where are you headed?
I'm going to Norman. I want to see what are they? Golden Knights? I want to see the Golden Knights knock that Schooner over. I'm excited. I think it'll be another good test for Oklahoma, and I would just love for them to get beat at home by a newbie team. So I'm going for that one for sure.
That is a fantastic game. Are we on week 8? Oh, okay. I have to switch some things around. I have the wrong thing for my thing. Okay, hold on a second. I had originally, and now that I'm looking at this, I have to change my notes on this. Originally, I was going to say TCU at Kansas State because you have a rematch of the Big 12 championship game. These two teams met twice last year. Fantastic games. But that can't be the pick. It's not the pick at all. That's not where I'm headed to Houston. I need a Baylor game, and I will get one at some point.
Yeah.
But this is one of the funniest games of the season to me. Is Texas going to Houston? Texas having to go to Houston, a program the Longhorns have done not only everything in their power to avoid, to basically not acknowledge even exists for as long as they possibly can. And a Houston fan base that has been chomping at the no incoming team is more excited for a shot at home against one of the remaining teams about to leave than Houston versus Texas. They played 3 times since the Southwest Conference ended, but not once since 2002. If there is one game the Houston crowd should actually show up for, yes, that's a shot at the Houston fan base. This is it. This is the game. You finally get Texas at your home stadium. There was all these rumors of the reason the schedule's taking so long is because there's this argument. It should be an NRG and Houston. Yeah. This is the game. This is your shot. You get Texas at home. I got to be there for this. This is going to be great.
I actually might be at this game in person. My cousin goes to Houston. I'm going to try and go with her. And my parents live close by anyway, so I might do that one. But I was looking at tickets for this, and it's minimum already $300. Nosebleeds. And I'm like, damn it. One of my friends on Twitter sent me a link to season tickets for Houston. $125. So
they're so excited. I'm sitting here on ESPN.
I'll probably get tickets through my cousin, but if you want tickets to the game, buy season tickets. That's the way to do it.
I'm looking at ESPN. Baylor at Cincinnati. Tickets as low as $70. That's the next closest to Texas at Houston. Tickets as low as $118.
Ooh, it's gone down. Nice.
Oh, there you go. Click
that StubHub.
Here, I'll send you the link so you can get in there. Okay. So week 8. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be fantastic. Okay. Let's move on down to week 9. All right, this is where I got all mixed up. All right, I'm good. Week 9. Where are you headed, Kyle?
I got to go to DKR to see Texas finally beat BYU. We have lost so many times to them in a row. I have to see it in person. This is our chance right before we go. So Texas, BYU, that's the one.
I mean, at some point it's going to happen for you guys. At some point you'll get that win.
Yeah, it has to happen.
I think there's some other interesting ones. Obviously, OU at Kansas. Kansas's last shot. Kansas has been fairly close to pulling off the upset the last couple of seasons. Can they do it this year? West Virginia UCF should be fun. I think those are two teams that are going to be excited to play each other. West Virginia is. But I have to have a Baylor game at some point.
Oh, yeah.
And I just, the way the season stacked up, weren't a lot of times where I was like, I'm going to Baylor. So Baylor hosting Iowa State this week. This is my Baylor at Baylor game, going to Waco. It felt like a good opportunity to see these two teams. Two teams that are coming off very disappointing seasons last year. I'm interested to see how they bounce back. And this is usually a game that can get a little bit saucy, a little bit fun. So I'm going to go to Iowa State at Baylor because I need one of these games for both teams.
Gotcha.
All right. Every game can't be like, every week can't just be like, it's because of this incredible thing. Sometimes I just got to go see that team.
But
Okay.
there are a lot of incredible weekends, like you've said.
God, there's so many.
The next one is one of them.
Week 10.
Last Bedlam. Gotta go
Yeah.
to. I have felt the pain of losing a big brother little brother rivalry. I miss it every year around Thanksgiving. Smell the turkey, smell the pumpkin pie. We should be kicking off right now. I know they'll feel that for I don't know how long. Hopefully they come to their senses and set something up. But one last Bedlam game. Let's do it. That's where I'm going.
Yeah, look, this is a Big 12 podcast. Everyone knows I am an Oklahoma State fan. I went to my first Bedlam game 2 years ago when they won in Stillwater. It was an incredible game. It was an incredible experience. Not sure I want a chance doing it again. I was like, if this is the last one, I gotta go. And then we won. And then they played 2 more, and I'm like, I'm not gonna risk this. I'm 1-0 in Bedlam, so I'm good. But yeah, like that is the game. And I think there's some other good ones this weekend. Houston at Baylor, even TCU at Texas Tech on Thursday if we wanted to try and double up. But Bedlam, this is the last Bedlam for tickets as low as, looking at ESPN, tickets as low as $213. The next most expensive game this week is $63 for Houston at Baylor.
It's gonna skyrocket, like especially if one of the teams doing well. Hopefully, if both, it's gonna be insane. But it'll be a good one.
I agree. At some point, cooler heads will prevail, and they'll figure something out. But I
think it'll be way faster than Texas A&M. So
I do too.
Which is never. We're just you join.
Yeah. Again, that's the only reason it's happening, and I think she will find a way. No, I agree with you. Texas and A&M. I mean, they're joining the same conference. Like they can't avoid each other anymore. Right. I think cooler heads will prevail. I think they'll get this figured out. But obviously, the last Bedlam game for a very, very long time. Week 11 of the season. We have, is that every team? Every team's on. Every team's playing. You got 7 games. Kyle, where are you headed?
No buys. And they're all on Saturday. So, I don't know. I think TCU, Texas, but, TCU gets one last chance to just cream Texas like they have been the last decade. But I kind of want to see UCF OSU at the Bounce House. I think that'd be an interesting one.
I think that will be an interesting game late in the season.
That's my choice.
Yeah, that's a good choice. I think that's a good choice. West Virginia, Oklahoma is an interesting one. West Virginia finally beat Oklahoma last year. Could they do it 2 years in a row before Oklahoma leaves? Maybe one in Norman. I am going to Iowa State at BYU. 2 things. One, I've got to get to the stadium. We've all seen the photos. I need to get out to Provo. I've got to check out this football stadium. And since Jamie Pollard has decided that Iowa State BYU needs to be I'm going to put up air quotes for those of you listening in podcast form. This needs to be a rivalry game that's played all the time every year for some strange reason. No one understands Jamie Pollard but Jamie Pollard. But okay, if that's how you want to treat this game, let's go. Let's go to Iowa State at BYU. Let's check out Provo. This should be a very interesting competition between a team of players and fans that chug Dr. Pepper and a team of fans that chug Natty Light. Two beverages that I don't think really go together, but you know what? You drink what you drink when you're poor and in college. So I'm headed to Iowa State BYU. I am excited. I'm in real life, like, I got to get to Provo at some point. I'm like, honey, look at these pictures. She's like, I could probably go to one of those football games. I was like, yeah, I think you could. I think you would enjoy. Just stare at the mountains. No, that's mean. She likes football. Okay. So we've just got 2 weeks left of this season. During this regular season, 2 games left to pick, or depending upon how you want to handle Thanksgiving weekend. Week 12. Again, every team is in action this weekend, so you got a full slate of games to choose from. What's it going to be, Kyle?
I think West Virginia, Cincinnati. I think that's going to be a nice rivalry in the Big 12. They're so close to each other. Yeah, that's the one. I thought BU TCU, but I just don't think Baylor or TCU are going to be that good. As that rivalry has been pretty awesome since 2013ish. era. So I was thinking about that one, and maybe BYU, OU, but I've already been to BYU, so it was tough. I think West Virginia at home against Cincy. That's the one.
Yeah, I think that is, again, West Virginia fans don't want any rivalries except Pitt, Penn State. But that is going to be a rivalry game in the Big 12. I think that's a great choice. I think it's a great option. I think the rivalry, neither team may be great this year, but it's the rivalry. It's always a fun game. Oklahoma at BYU. My last memory of Oklahoma playing BYU is Sam Bradshaw getting hurt and BYU winning that game. BYU loves to play Oklahoma and Texas. It's very successful for them. OSU and Houston. OSU has a losing record to Houston all time, so there's the thing. Texas and Iowa State. That's a series that's just been crazy the last few years. I know this is a rivalry, though, that's going to continue moving forward, but this feels like the first time where I feel like Kansas might actually win the Sunflower Showdown for the first time in a very, very long time. This should be an exciting Kansas team. That's not a shot at Kansas State. I think Kansas State, even with all they lost, is still going to be good this year, but I think they might not be quite as good. Kansas should be a bit better this year. They've got a healthy Jalen Daniels. Like, I'm going to the Sunflower Showdown. It's a great week. This is the other one of like circling. I'm like, I almost want to just be at home and watch games all day because I think it's just going to be an incredible slate of Big 12 games. But I'm going to head to Sunflower Showdown. I think it's going to be great in Lawrence. I think that's going to be a great place to be. It should be a fun rivalry game.
Love rivalry games.
Love rivalry games. So I'm like, it's not a rivalry. Like, just shut up, make a fake trophy, and let's enjoy this, okay? All right.
Does the Sunflower Showdown have a trophy? I haven't seen that one yet.
No, I don't. Not, sure we can make one.
Okay, I'll find one.
Probably. Graphic design is my passionate. All right. Thanksgiving weekend, the last weekend of the regular season. The last time we will watch a regular season where the weekend of Oklahoma and Texas in the Big 12. It's going to be a weirdly emotional weekend. We got 2 Friday night games. We've got 5 on Saturday. Kyle, what you playing here, man?
I'm doing Texas Tech on Friday, and then I didn't really know about the second one. Probably Oklahoma State BYU. I can do that maybe. We'll see.
I like that. I am going with TCU at Oklahoma, in part because it's the 11 a.m. game. So I know I have plenty of time to get wherever I want to go for my second destination. And I just think it's a fun one. I think both Friday games.
Yeah, I wish
there's enough time to drive from Norman. I don't think there's not enough time to get from Norman to Austin between.
That's like 7 hours.
No, there's not time because it's 11 a.m. game at 6:30. There's not time. That'd be great. But I'll do TCU at Oklahoma instead of Texas Tech at Texas, because I do think there's a real shot that Texas and Texas Tech find a way to schedule some non-conference games in the future.
Yeah, I think so too. They had like some like gentleman's agreement like a year ago to continue playing, but I think they got nixed. So I'm not really sure where they're at with that. But I think they'll schedule something in the future. For sure.
Like, there are very few where I look at Oklahoma and Texas and say, I bet they'll schedule them. I think Bedlam will find a way. Texas Tech will find a way, and Texas and Oklahoma might find a couple of those. But it does stink that some games, like, we'll probably never see Iowa State Oklahoma again unless they're matched up in a bowl game.
Yeah, a bowl game or something.
And that sucks a lot. They're definitely, at some point I'm gonna sit down and be like, what are the matchups I'm mostly gonna miss? Iowa State Oklahoma is gonna be one. TCU Texas is gonna be one. There's definitely gonna be Kansas State versus Oklahoma. That's gonna miss that one. All right, but I will do TCU Oklahoma on Friday, and then on Saturday, I got my Baylor game in, so I don't have to do West Virginia Baylor. BYU OSU is interesting, but we got Farmageddon. We got what I believe might end up being the best rivalry game in the Big 12 moving forward. I think it's.
Last year, I'm going to be honest. Last year was the first time I had heard Farmageddon. I don't know why. It happens every year, apparently.
Because neither school wants to acknowledge the rivalry or the name of it.
I rumor think it's badass. I love it.
Oh, it's incredible. There's no official trophy. Lots of people have different ideas.
Right.
Apparently, Jamie Pollard doesn't even like the rivalry.
Of course.
There's all these things about Jamie Pollard. I don't know. I'm sure he's a very nice guy. You hear all these things about Jamie Pollard. And so but it's two fan bases like they hate each other. Every matchup in every sport, they freaking hate each other. That's what you want a rivalry to be, is two fan bases on either side with farming equipment ready to charge each other in a murderous rage. Like, yeah, two farm-fed.
Yeah. And both athletic departments are kind of on the same exact like level. Like, it makes perfect sense.
And don't tell their fans that, because that's going to make them both angry that you would say that they are equals in any way, shape, or form. Farm versus corn, or wheat versus corn. Like, it's Farmageddon is the most. We've just got to keep building this name up. We need both schools to be like, all right, fine, it's Farmageddon. Big 12, publicize it this way. Let's set it in the same weekend every year. Like, let's just do this. It's going to be great. It's going to be in Manhattan. Just incredible content, incredible football. Great way to end the regular season. With a little, just some good old fashioned college football hate.
I hope it's a night game. I hope there's snow. It'll be good.
Oh God, that would be incredible.
That would be great. With playing, like having some like weird like throwback away uniforms or something. I think that'd be a pretty sweet game.
Final score 10-6.
Yeah.
Yes. Went on some goofy Hail Mary at the end of the game. Just please. Right. Stick it right in my veins. Let's go. Kyle, I this is gonna be an incredible season. I am curious from your standpoint. I kind of teased it, but now I want to talk through it just to wrap this up. Like, what games or what teams or what rivalries do you feel like as a Texas fan you are most going to miss after Texas leaves?
Baylor, I don't really care about. Iowa State, maybe. I'm gonna miss Kansas just because, God, everyone knows that. But I just, that game for the last like 6 years makes my stomach hurt leading up to it. I'm like, God, this is the game we cannot. I don't care what we do the rest of the season. Do not lose this game, guys. And 2 times they've let me down. But
I'm clipping that. It's going out on the internet.
Kansas State. I love playing Kansas State. I didn't at the beginning of the 2000s. They had our number really good, but they haven't beat us since like the Charlie Strong era. So I love that we caught back up with them. I think we're ahead in the head-to-head finally. I'm gonna miss them. Tech. Their fans are pretty awful, but they're hilarious on Twitter. I will miss Tech for sure. TCU, take them or leave them. Oklahoma State, they've had our number just like TCU, so I won't miss them that much.
Yes, to confirm, Texas is on a 6-game winning streak and is in the overall series lead 13-10 in that series.
Oh yeah.
So Kansas State could beat Oklahoma, but not Texas. As an OSU fan, I will miss OSU Texas games. It's always fun when I see Texas as the homecoming opponent because we know we're going to win homecoming every year. My favorite is still Tom Herman getting mad and Gundy just riling up the fans at the end of that one. That was incredible.
Was that, remind me what happened on that one? I always get that one confused with like the Charlie Strong one that ended crazy.
It was the Taylor Cornelius game.
Yeah.
And something happened like on one of the last plays, and some Texas defender got mad, and then Gundy came out there angry, and then Herman was out there being Tom Herman, giant man baby. And just weird drama at the end of just a wild game where Texas tried to come back and couldn't complete it. It was a.
I'll be this 5 years in a row. That was a bad 5 years.
The only team to ever win 3 in a row in Austin.
Yeah.
3 straight in Austin. I was at the 2013 game, and it was the moment that who was the quarterback? 2013 was I can't remember. It's right before halftime though, and it's still one of my favorite GIFs of all time. And he throws an interception that is a pick 6 that's running right down the sideline right before halftime. And the GIF is the player runs past Mac Brown, and Mac Brown just goes, "No!" and just so mad that you threw a pick 6 right before the half. Right. Yeah, I have it GIFed, and I just every once in a while I was like, "This is one of my favorite things."
That's Alabama Texas bad voodoo right there. I think that happened in that championship game. I think there was a pick 6 right before half. Oh.
Kyle, even though Texas is leaving, I will still continue to enjoy Ag Effect Thursday. It's just incredible to see A&M fans mad about anything because they have plenty to be angry about. I mean,
A lot. Yeah.
Plenty. They have plenty. So any more opportunity you can to make them even more angry is always fun. Kyle, you do an incredible job covering Texas and just making Twitter more enjoyable. Do me a favor. Where can everybody go and check out all the stuff that you do?
Twitter, like you said, at Kyle Umlang. I am the weird-looking avatar with the sunglasses. You have seen me. I promise you, you've seen a tweet. Just that's the guy, the weird guy with sunglasses and the burnt orange background. That guy.
If you don't follow him, somebody you follow does and has shared one of his tweets at least once. I promise. Kyle, it's been a pleasure. Enjoy the season, man. It's going to be a fun.
Yeah, I will be ugly crying the whole time and hopefully celebrating every week because we were winning the Big 12. So fingers crossed.
Everyone's great fears. Everyone's great fears for the year.
We'll win the first one in the Big 12 and win the last one out. That's how you do it. That's a proper goodbye.